Hey guys, this is Cosmic. I wanted to bring a guide this season for the uh, HOTA Barbarian. A lot of you might be struggling with clearing 150 or even like above 140 with the Frenzy Barb, and I wanted to explain how this build works. In case you guys didn't know, for season 38 we have the Ethereals. So let's dive into the gear. For starters, you're going to want a grandfather. Now, let me pop open the cube here to talk about the grandfather situation this season. They did not update the Remorseless for the Ethereal pool, so the Remorseless power that you get on an Ethereal is going to be 250% instead of the 800% that it is now. So that being said, you have to get Gavel of Judgment power on your Ethereal. So you might want to use recipe 11 for that if you want to get a useful passive and this affix. I'm going to go over what passives actually do something, and then obviously the best passives are pretty self-explanatory. They're just the damage ones. So we have the grandfather. I don't recommend using the dual wielding setup on this because this is going to be more of a higher chance of clearing 150 for you. Overall, the damage is just so good. The fact that your damage isn't gated behind killing things like with Echoing Fury, this really helps with killing the boss. That being said, we're going to move on to the gearing for jewelry, and then I'm going to talk about the gems kind of in the same token. So with the jewelry, why am I wearing Zodiac? The reason is because I kind of want one cooldown roll between these two jewelry slots. So ideally we want one cooldown roll here. The easiest way to get that is from Zodiac because it comes with cooldown. So that way you only have to wear either a Band of Might or a Convention of Elements and cube the other. That's really helpful for making it easier to slap this build together and be able to play it. So I recommend doing that for starting out, but best in slot would definitely be to wear both Band of Might and Convention of Elements and cube the Zodiac, because then you get an extra critical hit damage stat which cannot roll on Obsidian, right? So that's the kind of rundown on the rings. With the necklace, I don't recommend Hellfire at all. Squirts is just the best one, so go with that. You don't necessarily have to have fire damage because we have lots of fire damage in the build already, but best in slot would be to have fire damage here over strength. Now, the jewelry, speaking of jewelry, we have the gems. Now, you'll see I have Pain Enhancer here. The reason that I'm going to recommend Pain Enhancer over Bane of the Trapped, for the majority of you, your complaint with this build is going to be cooldown management. So when you're in the middle of the fray and you're stomping and you're casting both of these buffs, odds are without Pain Enhancer, you are going to struggle a little bit with maintaining your buffs, the really crucial buffs anyway. So these guys here, if these guys drop off, you do no damage, and you lose a lot of toughness as well. Which means you could die, and then if they weren't reset when you died, then you're kind of in a situation where you might be chain dying. So you don't want to end up in that situation because you want to actually want to play the build, right? So you don't want to get discouraged. So that's why I'm going to recommend Pain Enhancer for most of you guys. The thing is, the Grandfather does so much damage on the boss with single target. With Whirlwind stacking Stricken very fast, we don't need to have the extra boss damage. So this is going to help you enjoy the build and get the clear. So moving on, the normal Legacy of Dreams gem and then the Bane of the Stricken are a must. The best boots here would be Iron Toe Mud Sputters, and that's because while you are building up a pull, you will go kind of lower life a little bit because you're going to not cast this yet, so you won't have Call the Ancients because they'll interfere with your pulling. So Iron Tome Mud Spiders are actually useful here because they'll give you a little move speed boost, which will help you gather up a pile to hit. The best in slot pants here, Blackthorns, that's self-explanatory. Witching Hour, self-explanatory. And then we have Cindercoat, self-explanatory. Stone Gauntlets, also self-explanatory. The stats on Stone Gauntlets, because we get an extra critical hit chance on the weapon that we normally would not get, you can get away with no critical hit chance on your gloves, or your neck, or your helm. So in this case, I have both. I'm missing critical hit chance on both, so I am under 100% crit chance, but not by much. So I think I'm like 92% or something like that. So the thing is, it's not that hard to get good gloves. Out of all this stuff, you can get away without the elemental here. So if you have crit chance here, that's fine. Crit chance, crit damage, strength is totally fine. That will allow you to kind of give up your critical hit chance here so that you have something usable. Now, best case scenario is that vitality would actually be cooldown, which would help. So really easy, but quadfecta is still going to be the normal critical hit damage, critical hit chance area, and cooldown. So Mantle of Channeling is something that I personally use. For you guys, in the spirit of having the build be easier to play, I actually recommend the Fury Shoulders, so Fury of the Ancients. For most people, there's really no difference when you're fighting in density in terms of your Fury. Your Fury is going to be pretty much the same, it's just going to be maxed out. However, when density starts to thin out and you're fighting a boss and let's say you have an ad boss and there's like 5 targets, Mantle of Channeling will require you to pay attention to how many targets you're swinging at, so that you always have this Gavel of Judgment, hit 3 or fewer enemies, or you need to hit 7 or more enemies to get back enough Fury from the altar in order to maintain Fury. So the thing is, the reason why I would recommend for you guys just Fury of the Ancients is because you get critical hit chance from having Fury in your pool, but then you also get 25% additional damage while you're near maximum Fury. So don't be crazy like me and run Mantle of Channeling unless you are really going like ham and fishing like crazy and you want to really pay attention to what you're doing. I also am using Mantle of Channeling because I got one, so that's that's kind of my reason here. Leoric's Crown would be recommended for most of you guys, but since we have the Pain Enhancer here carrying the Zodiac resets, I am gonna go ahead and run the Andariels. Also, same thing as Mantle. I got one Primal, so I'm gonna use it. That's part of my reasoning here. Best in slot would probably be Andariels, to be honest, for the best possible clear. But you can run a Leorix if you are struggling with cooldown on the boss fight. With Pain Enhancer, you will not struggle on cooldown during the Rift, because you'll have really fast resets. But on the boss fight, you might struggle, so you might want to run Leorix. Lastly, with the bracers, you don't have to wear the bracers of the First Men. Odds are you're not going to have a primal like this, so you're probably going to end up cubing this and then wearing Mordek's Brace, because it's very easy to get a good one. That covers the gear. Now let's move on to the skills. So skills, these are pretty hard set. So Whirlwind Dust Devils helps you gather density, so it aggravates monsters from far away, which helps you gather density, but it also allows you to move around the map while resetting your skills with Zodiac. So this is really huge, and then it's also there for stacking Stricken on the boss. This stacks Stricken super fast, guys. Like we're talking like 500 stacks in a minute or something like that. It's crazy. So this is a must. Don't get creative, just stick to Whirlwind here. The Hammer of the Ancients rune is definitely going to be Smash because it has the most damage. And then I just want to make note of why we have so much critical hit chance on this build. Hammer of the Ancients has 1% crit chance for every 5 Fury you have. That means that the Fury you have has to be Fury that's actually in your pool. So I currently am at 0, which means I don't have this buff. So keep in mind that when your Fury drops, you're going to lose a little bit of crit chance. Stomp is a must in this build. There are, at higher Paragon, there are some variants where you can drop Band of Might for Unity and then run Rage Flip here instead of Ground Stomp. It's another pulling skill. It's an option, but for you guys, for most of you guys, I would recommend Stomp because you're going to have an easier time like getting kills happening, whereas with Rage Flip, it can be a little trickier and fishier. So stick to Stomp, but if you're feeling kind of crazy, you can drop Band of Might, go Unity. If you're lower Paragon and you want to play that Rage Flip setup, you might have to wear the Aquila chest instead of Cindercoat there. So moving on here, Bloodshed is also very crucial here because critical hits explode around us. Now, when you have a build that critical hits like every time, this is super powerful. So especially with something like HOTA, it doesn't hit that many enemies. The hammer itself only hits what's in front of you. Bloodshed hits everything around you. So this is really huge for just carrying that AoE. Call of the Ancients and Wrath of Berserker, these are non-negotiable. You have to use these and these specific runes. Well, Wrath of Berserker, you don't actually have to select any rune at all because you get all runes from Mordek's Praise. But this rune is a must. This gives you double toughness, so that's huge. With passives, the primary passives are going to be Boon, Berserker Rage, Ruthless, and Rampage. Those are the primary 4 that you want to have equipped. Make sure that you have those 4, and then if one of those is on the Ethereal, then great. Your 5th passive will be Brawler if you have one of the mentioned passives there on your Ethereal. Now, for the passives that you might get that actually do something, the only passives that don't do anything, I'm going to start from the bottom here. Sword and Board doesn't, Earth and Might doesn't do anything, Juggernaut doesn't do anything, No Escape doesn't, Tough as Nails basically doesn't do anything because you have Stone Gauntlets, and then we have, that's basically it. So the other ones are pretty much, Weapons Master, that's the last one. This basically doesn't do anything. It's in the same category as Tough as Nails. You have a lot of additive damage already, so 8% increased damage from wearing a sword is pretty much nothing. The only time Weapons Master is actually doing something is if you have a mighty weapon like Remorseless on your main hand, because then it helps you keep up your Fury, which can help with running Mantle of Channeling. So that's not a thing this season because you're going to be using the Grandfather. So moving on, to explain the passives and why they actually help, the ones that are not optimal, if one of these rolls on your Ethereal and you have the Gavel of Judgment power, go ahead and rock it. It's going to do something. So this helps you move through the rift when you're killing things, and especially if you get a conduit, which you should have on your best clear, this is going to let you kind of move to the next map really fast while you have your conduit going. So this is helpful. I feel like this actually can be involved in a really fast clear, so if you're time attacking and you already have lots of damage, this is actually not too bad. Nerves of Steel, definitely a good one to have in hardcore. In general, I'm running the build without even having the cheat death on the follower, so I don't really feel like you need this in softcore, but it's still something to have. and it's not completely useless. Inspiring Presence is going to give you healing. We are using a shout. Battle Rage is a shout, so this gives you 3% of your life every second, which is decent. You already have lots of healing, so these two aren't too big of a deal, but they give you more healing, which makes you tankier. So this, if you have secondary globes healing bonus, this is pretty big actually. So lots more healing here. This is more healing because you're swinging really fast. This is more healing than this gives you. So Bloodthirst is actually not too bad. Especially in hardcore, Bloodthirst is amazing. Animosity, this, if you get this, you're even more in a situation where now you have +4 critical hit chance because of the increased max fury, and then you have more fury generation, which helps with running mantle channeling. So this is not too bad. So this could also help you run things like Andariels without critical hit chance. So that's good. This is good for survivability, also helps you get back fury. Anything that helps you get back fury is great because we want this kind of maxed out as often as possible. When you're swinging really fast with Pain Enhancer, having lots of fury is really good. So this ain't bad. This doesn't do much because of the Stone Gauntlet, so I won't even mention that one. This does nothing. Relentless is really good for hardcore. However, this build doesn't really go into this Relentless range very often. So I don't find this one super useful. If you get Relentless, you might want to reroll your weapon. Unless you're in a hardcore, then this would kind of be better than a cheat death in a way. Because if you ever did get in that range, this is just going to help you heal right back up. This also, life per fury spent is doubled. You have a lot of life per fury from Mordek's Brace, so this is going to help you heal out of that range as well as not go below that range. So Relentless is decent for hardcore. Juggernaut does nothing. Unforgiving is a quality of life improvement. You'll notice that your fury degenerates when you're standing still, so I'm sitting here in town and I'm at 0. If I'm at full fury when I start the rift without having to slam my hammer on the ground, let me show you. Returns 25 fury if it hits 3 or fewer enemies. That includes 0. So if you slam your hammer, if you have enough fury to slam your hammer, which I currently don't, if you have just enough to slam your hammer on the ground, you can just keep slamming it until you have full fury because of the Gavel of Judgment. So that being said, Unforgiving means that you don't need to do that in between fishing to have full fury. Having full fury is going to help with the playstyle. So Unforgiving is actually good. There are ways around it so that it's not useful, but if you're lazy and you're just sitting there fishing and you don't want to slam your hammer on the ground, this is actually kind of good. So this is a must. Earth and Might does nothing, and Swordboard does nothing, and then Rampage is a must. So that's a review on the passives, and that's going to conclude that part of it. With the follower, I just recommend the normal follower. The crucial things are Gloves of Worship, Cannot Die, Flavor of Time, Nemesis Bracers, Oculus Ring, and then when I talk about resource, one of the reasons why I'm able to get away with running Mantle of Channeling here is in density, taking fire damage is really common, and that restores your resources. So this is kind of nice to have. I recommend it. Otherwise, follower is normal. I recommend avoiding hard crowd controls on your follower, things like freezes, blinding, stunning. If you have secondaries or a weapon like Azure Wrath or a helm like Blind Faith, try to avoid that on this build because you're going to get better stomps. So let's go ahead and get into a gameplay example. I'm going to go ahead and open up a 150, and I am going to keep going until I get something kind of decent. Okay, so we're just going to open up 150s here, and I'm just going to keep going until I get something, playable. Here we go. So this is slashers. So I'm going to start out. Notice I'm whirlwinding around and I'm getting my resource, and I don't have Call of the Ancients up, and I don't have the Call of the Ancients shoulders. So I'm skipping that fire cycle because I want to build more density. And just make sure that you're stomping every 8 seconds. Now we're going to get ready here. Stomp an empty space. That was a bad one. We activate Call the Ancients, and then we just start DPSing. And notice this is slashers and a 150, and we're just shredding through them, right? So see, we're very easily able to make even with the progress bar. Super easy, right? So we just try to move into Oculus rings, keep up those buffs. Notice how easy it is for me to keep up my buffs. That's because I have Pain Enhancer. Don't forget to press your potions. Although the shrines aren't that helpful with this because the Frenzy Shrine isn't really that necessary on the Rift, it is still good to have, especially for the boss fight. So make sure to press your potions. Red circles are nice to have as well. So notice how we've got like a lead just on trash, really easy. So again, I'm going to do another rotation. Right now the Kali Ancients are out and they're about to expire. I'm not going to recast them though because now I'm rebuilding density. So I'm going to move around, stomping, rebuilding density. We're going to aggro up another pile. Here comes. There's our nice juicy stomp. I'm going to cast Call the Ancients, move in the Aki. Let's keep smashing. Really easy to play. So if you stomp really good and you aim at the elites, depending on your Paragon, you might end up killing elites, especially if you get a shield pylon, which is going to give you double damage for 2 minutes because of squirts. This build can kill elites even at low Paragon, but that should not be your goal. The goal should be the conduit kills the elites if you're, playing this at lower Paragon. So again, that's best gameplay example I can give. I'm going to go ahead and run to town. So that's how simple it is. There are other mob types that you can get better pixels on, and I kind of want to just see if I can... oh, here we go. Okay, so this is Vile Swarms. So I'm going to go ahead and show you in this room here what a nice pixel looks like, just for visual. So we're going to dance around them, piss them off, right, with this. And now I'm going to move around. Now I'm going to wait for fire cycle here, right? So that was a bad stomp. Okay, let's find empty space here. And now see, we pixeled them together good, and they just go down super easy. So that isn't like the best example just because it's not on a big open map and it's not a giant pile of swarms. But in general, you're looking for a mob type like swarms or chickens or skeletons, zombie grotesque, lacunae phase beast, things like that pixel really well. Slashers is not a great example, but you're still going to wreck pretty much any mob type you fight with this build. As long as you have say 1500 Paragon or so, you're going to be able to kill any of those mob types. So that pretty much concludes the build. I'm thinking, did I miss anything? No, yeah, this is it. So I will have a planner in the description so that you can look at kind of the optimal setup and then the setup that I discussed here that I'm wearing. So optimal setup for you though, I'll have that in the description so that you can reference it. And good luck, guys. I hope this gets you guys a impressive HOTA clear this season. Take care and see you in the next one.